everyone, my name is C. Today I'm going to be talking about The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So I read this book for the first time last weekend. I have definitely quite a bit of thoughts on it. Overall, I really enjoyed it. On Goodreads, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really fantastic and very well done. It's a very poignant and important read, I think. Saying that it was enjoyable feels off, like that doesn't sound like the right emotion to attach to it, because this is a extremely dark and difficult story. However, I think that Margaret Atwood handled the story in a really wonderful way. So this feminist dystopian story follows Uffred, who now is finding herself in a world where her only job is to get pregnant. Basically, at some point, something happened. I don't want to say exactly what happened just because it gets like talked about in the book, but there is a like government overthrow by religious extremists who kind of claim the United States as their own. These extremists end up having like militarized control over the US. Women are treated horribly. Women are not allowed to read. They're not allowed to further knowledge or education unless it is education that directly helps the agenda of these extremists. And our main character, Uffred, is what they call a handmaid, or her whole job is to try and get pregnant. There's been a lot of issues with infertility in this world, and so they're trying to find anyone who is able to give birth. There are other roles that women can have in this world, such as being Marthas, who are like maids, or being wives to some of the higher-ups in the organization. It's a very dark story. It makes you think a lot. I have a lot that I really enjoyed about this book. I have some things I didn't quite enjoy about this book, but I first want to talk about what I did enjoy in this book. The storyline to this book is super captivating. I had felt a little bit nervous about picking this book up just because I know that it is a classic, and I was concerned that it was going to be hard to digest, but it's not. It is written in a very accessible way. There was never a part in it where I was like, this is just way over my head. It's really easy to read. It's very understandable, and the storyline itself is so captivating. I was worried also, like, I am not a big classics reader, and I know this isn't an old classic, but it is upheld with classics, and I was worried that I was going to, like, not have the motivation to get through it. I didn't want to put this book down. Like, I really just wanted to keep getting into this story. Another thing I love about this book is that the characters are really vivid to me. Especially the main character, I think, is vivid in a very interesting way, because Uffred is, like, she is vivid in a way that the reader can, like, project themselves onto her, I think. She is very easy to understand, like, what her motivations are. There was never a point in this book where I was like, I don't know why you're doing that thing. Like, I understood wholly what she was doing and her motivations behind doing it. Another thing I appreciated about this story was that even though it is dealing with difficult and graphic subject matter, it never got to the point where it was like, oh, I can't read this. This is too graphic. Which I think is a very fine line to cross, because there were scenes that were definitely uncomfortable to read, that were supposed to be uncomfortable, but there was never scenes where it was like, I have to put this down. I cannot read this. That's definitely a, like, personal thing for me, at least. You might have totally different opinions on that. But for me, at least, there was never a point where I was like, this feels too graphic to get through. The strongest part of the story is most definitely the prose. This book has some of the best prose that I have read in my recent memory. It has such gorgeous writing. I would like to share a quote with you that I just love so much. I mark quotes down a lot in books, but this is one that, like, I keep thinking about after I finished it. I'm gonna read it to you all. So the quote goes like this: "By telling you anything at all, I'm at least believing in you. I believe you're there. I believe you into being. Because I'm telling you this story, I will your existence. I tell, therefore you are." Like, it's just such a pretty quote. There's so much in this book that is just beautiful and vivid, and the prose, beautiful. It makes me really want to pick up more of Margaret Atwood's work. It especially makes me want to look into her poetry collections that I know are out, because her writing is just like top-notch, beautiful. In terms of things I didn't love so much about this story, one of the big ones is there was a definite bit of narrative inconsistency. What I mean by that, and this I don't really think of as a spoiler, women are not allowed to read in this, like, society. And it is a big deal that women are not allowed to read. Like, when they go into the market areas, all of the stores have pictures instead of words for, like, the names of their stores. Like, women are not allowed to read. And then there's a part in the book that's set during, like, the time, because there's a lot of, this book is told through flashbacks partly also, and I think that the flashbacks are really, really strong. But there's a part where it's, like, set during this time, and they go to a ceremony, and there is a, like, sign in words that, like, welcomes all the women to the ceremony. And it's, like, not mentioned as to, like, why they can read that, and, like, why they're allowed to read it. Because there's another part where they're allowed to read, like, one word that's, like, embroidered on a pillow. They're, like, allowed to read that. And other than that, they're not allowed to read it all. So I'm like, I don't understand why. Like, why can you read in this one time? Like, why are you allowed to? And it's frustrating me because the not being able to read was such a big deal throughout the rest of the book that I'm like, why would you put that in there and not, like, tie that end up? I don't want to spoil the ending of this book. What I will say is it was very interesting, but it was super unsatisfying. I think it's okay to go away from a book wanting more. I think, in fact, you want that from a book. Like, you don't want to read a book and be like, cool, I am completely done. Like, you want more. That should be the goal. This, though, was... there was just a bit of, like, unsatisfactory in it. It just didn't feel like it was fully wrapped up to me. I know there is a sequel that came out in, like, 2018. Remember, this book was released in the 80s, though. So, like, I am considering this to be the end of the story. Even if, like, Margaret Atwood did come back to this world, this should still be the end of this story. Yeah, it just wasn't satisfying of an ending for me. My other big problem with this, was I wish it was longer, honestly, and I think that would have helped a lot of the issues. There is a lot happening in this book. There's a lot happening. This whole society has been crafted. There's a lot happening, and I was really interested in what was happening, and I feel like it was never quite given to us. It was never quite given to the reader exactly what was going on. You heard a lot of things, especially being told through the flashbacks. You ended up understanding a lot, but it was never to the point where I understood everything. And again, do I have to know everything? No, but would it have been helpful to spend a little bit more time on the world building? Yes, especially because the main character was alive and around before this whole world started. Like, she remembers what would be known as, like, our time in the world. She's familiar with it, so I don't understand why. It's never really explained exactly why all of this happened. That was my big issue with this book. Overall, I would definitely recommend picking this book up. It is very short. It's, like, right around the 310 page mark. It was a really fast read for me, honestly. I recommend picking it up. I thought it was good. I thought it was very thought-provoking. I might end up picking up the second book. I don't really know what the second book is about, but I am curious into seeing, like, how it all ties together, so I might pick up the second one. Overall, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I have my Instagram linked below, as well as my Goodreads. I also run a weekly virtual writing called The Writer Zoom. I have that Instagram linked below as well. Anyway, I hope you're all having a great day and a very good week, and I will see you all in another video. Bye!